Well, today on Plant Life Project, we're going to be doing some tank maintenance. Not so much inside the tank, but above it. Growing houseplants out of a fish tank like this does require some maintenance from time to time, but it's pretty straightforward. And in today's video, I want to share with you 5 steps that I use when doing riparian plant maintenance that helps me to maintain a particular aesthetic that I want to keep. Step number 1 is pruning to maintain plant size. Now, the golden pothos is by far the most dominant plant in this setup. It's growing quickly. I've already trained it along the branches of the background a few times, but now it's just time to prune it. Now, if I wanted to, I could let it continue growing and train it up the sides of the shelf, train it along the wall, and that would look really cool, like an indoor jungle. But for this particular setup, I really want to maintain the boundary that the sides of this shelf make. I'm going to go through and decide which vines to trim and which ones to keep. I unravel them away from the tree branches of the background and off of the other plants, and I start pruning. Now, I know that I want to prune most of the vines that are growing on the tree branches so that they don't cover it up completely. And I also want to keep most of the pothos growing along the tank lid, similar to when I first set the tank up. So with these things in mind, I can select which vines to prune. Step number 2 is pruning to give other plants space and light. Now, one challenge in growing so many different plants together is they compete for light and can crowd each other. But we can level the playing field by pruning the dominant plants, giving the others space to grow and light. Sometimes that simply requires removing leaves of the dominant plant that are shading other plants too much. Now, this parlor palm is definitely getting crowded, so I'm pruning away the imposing vegetation around it, and also away from the money tree and the syngonium, which is definitely needing help. After a few minutes, this seemingly impenetrable canopy is being opened up, and space and light is restored to those deprived. As plants grow, they will naturally shed older leaves and those not harnessing the light efficiently. So while working on the first 2 steps that entail the pruning, it's a good idea to also be removing the dead leaves that are revealed as we peel back the layers of time. And sometimes it's surprising just how many dead leaves can accumulate over time. Step number 4 is inspect the plant's health. Now, this includes searching for any kind of pests. You have aphids or mealybugs or spider mites. And if so, then a good strategy is to kill and remove by hand as many as you can. And then mix a solution of 1/2 to 1 cup of rubbing alcohol to 1 quart of water. Now, we need to be careful not to get this solution in the aquarium because it can harm the fish. So one option is to apply the solution using a Q-tip or cotton ball onto the plant's leaves, stems, all the cracks and crevices where pests or their eggs could be hiding. Another option, if you have a tank with a lid, stuff a hand towel or paper towels down into the plants to cover any openings in the lid, and then you can gently spray the solution using a spray bottle on the affected plants. You just have to make sure that none of the solution gets into the tank. Now, if it does, you can perform a water change just to be safe. Hydrogen peroxide may be a safer alternative to the alcohol, but I've found that it's not quite as effective with some type of pests, like mealybugs, for example. And step number 5, often not talked about, but still important, is dusting your plant leaves and the setup in general, like the lid, the tank rim, the aquarium stand, and the lights. Of course, this is done for appearance, but it's also important for your plant's health. If too much dust accumulates on the leaves, it can inhibit photosynthesis and the plant's health can decline, making them more susceptible to pests and just poor health in general. And I just use a damp cloth to wipe off the dust. After these steps, I'm going to do some basic tank maintenance. Really, all that's needed here is to scrape the front glass, and I'll do a water change, which will be the first one I have done on this tank since filling it up 9 months ago. And as usual, I can't just throw away all of the pothos vines I trimmed, so I keep a few cuttings and get them started for a future project. Well, it's now been a few days since we did the pruning, and the pothos leaves are beginning to reorient themselves back toward the light where we move the vines around. All the plants, they have space to grow. They can get enough light, like the money tree and this golden goddess philodendron, the parlor palm, and the purple waffle plant. And we can see the tree branches again and enjoy those. And so all of the plant growth is much more manageable in this space now, but we still have the same aesthetic that I originally intended, this relaxed but lush natural look. If you want a setup like this, then check out the build video for this tank, and I'll show you exactly step by step how I set this up. It was easy to set up. It's been super low maintenance from day one and highly enjoyable. Most of the supplies for this tank and most of the plants you see here are available on my Amazon store, which I'll provide links for along the way. It's my goal on this channel to provide you with the information and the materials that you need to get started in this hobby, to continue growing into it and enjoy it for the long term. And I'm with you every step of the way.